call to order the meeting for Wednesday, April 26th. If you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Quick explanation of what's going to go on tonight. We're going to have, the staff is going to give a presentation. The applicant will then have an opportunity to speak, and then anyone in favor or against the appeal will have an opportunity to speak as well. At that point, the board will ask to close the public portion. Then if you spoke this evening, we would then call you back up and ask you particular questions, whether it's of somebody that was for or against. And then once we vote on it, then that decision will be final. If it's approved, you'll just see the staff, and they'll go ahead and get you the certificate. If it's denied, then you can talk to the staff what the next steps are. After that, we have some unfinished business, which will be done. We have approval of minutes, and then our next meeting, we'll talk about that and some administrative matters. Does the staff have a presentation? This will be for, excuse me, just pause that. I got to swear people in. Roll call vote first.
Okay. Mr. Bartol? Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shupp?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. So Mr. Bartle is not present tonight. We will seat our alternate, and I believe it's going to be, who do I put up here? David DeMoss. And while he sits, I will go ahead and introduce the case, and you can give a presentation. So this will be for, I got to swear in yet too. I'm getting ahead of myself. Excited. If you plan on speaking tonight, would you just please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that you will tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth before the Board of Zoning Appeals? Say I do.
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. Now we'll hear a case. BZA 24-8 is a variance for a property located at 5080 Hanley Road. Does the staff have a presentation?
I do.
Thank you.
The applicant is seeking approval for a pre-existing detached garage located at his property. It's less than 5 feet from the nearest property line. Mr. Miking, the applicant, owns the property at 5080 Hanley Road. He was unfamiliar with the zoning regulations and recently installed a detached garage behind his home. Shortly after the installation of this building, Mr. Miking received a building code violation from Hamilton County, which resulted in a zoning code violation from Colerain Township. Following this violation, Mr. Miking sought a zoning certificate retroactively and was denied. The basis of the denial was due to the detached garage accessory structure being located less than 5 feet from the side property line. Mr. Miking built his garage 3 feet from the property line, which is a 40% variance to section 10.2.3C of the Colerain Township zoning resolution. And that states that accessory buildings and uses in residential districts shall be located a minimum of 5 feet from all lot lines. The definition for an accessory building or use is listed within your packet. Further review criteria, we look at the Duncan factors, 7 factors that we view in Ohio to decide whether or not a variance can be substantiated. And the staff findings on those Duncan factors are that the property in question would yield a reasonable return without the variance. It's staff's opinion that the request is not substantial in nature. It's staff's opinion the essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered and adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of granting the variance. It's staff's opinion that granting the variance would not adversely affect the delivery of government services. Staff's opinion the property owner did not have prior knowledge of zoning restrictions. It's staff's opinion that the property owner's predicament could not be obviated through some other method than a variance. And it's staff's opinion that the spirit and intent behind the zoning resolution would be observed and substantial justice would be done by granting this variance. So for that reason, staff recommends approval of the requested variance with no conditions. The rationale behind that recommendation is that the neighbor's house at 5040 Hanley is located nearly 50 feet from the property line that they share, and the distance between the two primary structures is greater than most residential properties in Colerain Township. Upon visiting Mr. Miking's property today, which you can see pictures of in a packet at each of your stations, I noticed that the land is very steep. Mr. Miking told me it was 17 or 18% grade or slope. Therefore, staff finds the variance is not substantial and will not alter the character of the neighborhood in any meaningful way and should be granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? I see none. Is the applicant present? Want to come up and give your presentation? Do you have one?
I'd just like to say a few things.
Can you
I am working.
state your name and address for the record?
My name is Jay Meinking. I live at 5080 Hanley Road.
Perfect, thank you.
And I am working with my neighbor next door. Their vehicle has slid off the driveway a couple times because it's steep. And I built the wall up. I'm building it up. And I'm working with them to keep from that happening again. And I'm just letting y'all know that I know it don't mean nothing, but I'm just letting y'all know that I am working with my neighbor. We're gonna plant wildflowers on the hillside to make it look nice. I know they don't have nothing to do with this, but I'm just letting you know that I am working with my neighbor and we're all in agreement with everything.
Okay.
Did you all see the letter that I wrote?
I did.
Okay, I don't need to read that then.
And the letter has been submitted as evidence, so it's already part of the packet. Any other things, sir?
No, that's about it, just pretty basic.
Okay, perfect. If we have any questions, we'll call you back later, okay?
All right.
Thanks, sir.
Board, if you care to see it, we printed off aerial view that shows where the property lines are. Since we don't have a presentation, I printed one off for each of you if you like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the photos are pretty evident. You can see the boundary line with the vegetation. Does anyone on the board, I'm speaking for myself, does the board need to see these property lines?
No.
All right, anyone speaking for? Anyone speaking in against? Can I have a motion to close the public portion?
I'll make a motion to close the public portion.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. DeMoss?
Aye.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shupp?
Yes?
Mr. Sidow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. Mr. Saito, you want to start us off with any questions for the applicant or staff?
No, sir, I have none right now.
Okay, Mr. Shupp?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm just curious how tall that garage door is.
Can you step up to the podium for us?
What was that, sir?
I'm just curious how tall that garage door is.
14 feet.
14 feet. Okay. That was
The
it.
reason why I built that is for an RV.
I thought as much. That's what
I do have one more question. Am I gonna get any proof of this, so when I go downtown?
Yes, if your case is approved, then you'll receive a letter and you'll also receive a approved zoning certificate, just as if you had never had to come to this case.
Okay,
And that's what you'll take to Hamilton County.
thank you.
And just to clarify, the garage is pre-existing and it is taller than 15 feet. We're not seeking a variance for that since it's pre-existing. It wouldn't have been approved that way, but we're seeking a variance for the distance to the property line.
And I had a question to that. I mean, it's pre-existing, but it wasn't pre-existing until he built it.
Correct, and
It's pre-existing to us being presented, and only because he got caught that he's here. I mean, so it's, when you're creating your own zoning situation there, that pre-existing kind of goes away because, okay,
just to clarify.
I
perfect.
did get a permit originally. It's just, I realized that I was gonna have a hard time backing the RV in, so I flip-flopped the pad, if you're on the little drawing.
And
And I
we
came
read,
back up here to tell the guy about it, and he said it was okay. So, I mean, I know,
Sorry, we don't have proof of that, but that's fine.
yeah, and that's, we'll get to that too. All right, so who was speaking? Mr. DeMoss, were you?
I had no questions.
Ms. Owens? No questions. Okay. So that was one of the things, talking about you spoke with the worker and they told you it was okay. That's, unless you get in writing, it's just like getting laundry. If it ain't in writing, it didn't happen. And so, I mean, it's, that part I really got an issue with. Was this a kit then that you bought, or,
yes, it's a steel building.
and did you build this yourself, or did you pay somebody to do it?
Hired a contractor.
And when the contractor built it, did they get a permit?
I told them I had the permit to build everything.
Okay, and so the permit you had was to build it on the other side, away from the property line, correct?
Yes.
And you had a permit that exceeded the roof line and height of the building? Or how did you get that permit when it violated our zoning ordinance?
I was going to build a walkway to the top part of the garage from my porch.
Okay, but you didn't.
Well, I haven't got that far.
Can I clarify that as well? Another reason we didn't ask for a height variance is because it was going to be an attached garage, because Jared told him if there was a breezeway or some sort of walkway, that it
Enclosure,
would be
yeah.
an attached garage, and then the height wouldn't be relevant. So he built the building with that part of it, not to the spec that was approved on the zoning certificate. And then the height thing kind of was just incidental to all that.
I have no further questions. Does anyone want to make a motion on this case?
I make a motion we accept the case as is. With no conditions.
All right, we've had a motion. Do we have a second to that?
I'll second it.
Second motion, second's been made, and any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. DeMoss?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shupp?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
No.
Okay.
It's been approved.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Next case would be BZA 24-9. This is a variance for property located at 7849 Springleaf Drive. Does the staff have a presentation?
I do. The applicant seeking a variance that would allow for the construction of an additional attached garage bay on the right side of their house. Mr. Reeder, who has resided at 7849 Springleaf Drive since constructing the home in 1997, is requesting a variance that will allow for a garage addition to his home. This is in the R3 zone, but it does not meet the 15-foot side yard setback that was required in the zone. The proposed setback will be 7 feet, about half of the requirement, and that will be between the property line and the garage addition. It's staff's opinion that the following articles, sections of the Colerain Township zoning resolution are most relevant, which is table 7.2, residential site development standards, which lists the 15-foot minimum in the R3 zone. In looking at the Duncan factors, as in the last case, we look at guidelines on that employ fair and equitable case review. So whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return, staff finds that it would. It's staff's opinion that the request is not substantial in nature. It's staff's opinion the essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered, or the adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial deterrent. It's staff's opinion that granting the variance would not adversely affect the delivery of government services. It's staff's opinion the property owner did have prior knowledge of zoning restrictions. It's staff's opinion that the property owner's predicament could not be obviated in some other way than the variance. And it's staff's opinion the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance. For that reason, staff recommends approval of the requested variance with no conditions. And the rationale is that while the addition will move the side yard setback to only 7 feet, staff believes that it's not substantial and it won't alter the character of the neighborhood in any meaningful manner. The distance between Mr. Reeder's home and the primary structure located next door at 7901 Springleaf Drive is 70 feet in the front of the addition and 37 feet at the rear. The distance is greater than the distance between most homes in the township. Just prior to the meeting, within the last 24 hours, the applicant sent an amended site plan that shows a potential tandem garage that would be 2 car lengths deep. For this reason, there exist a couple options. You can continue the case because this wasn't put in the packet. You can approve it with the tandem garage option that he may or may not do, or you can approve what was put in the packet. So, Brody, if you take those to all the board members, enter those into the record. Even with the tandem garage, staff still recommends approval.
Does that change the distance to the adjacent property?
In the front, the distance is still 70 feet. In the rear, it's still in the 30s, so it's still greater than most setbacks.
Thank you.
And that's from house to house, not property line.
Right, right. Anything else, staff? Is the applicant present? Yes. You want to come make your presentation? State your name and address for the record, please.
Robert Reeder, 7849 Spring Lake Drive.
Thank you.
So when we look at our property, there are three things I think about for what we're trying to do here. And one is add value to our home, give more utility to the family. When we built the home in '97, there are some three-car garages on the street. We happen not to have one. It wasn't in the cards at the time, but it could be in the cards now. So we would match another 4 houses on the main street, and on the private drives, there's another 2 houses with 3 cars. So we fit right in kind of the wheelhouse of what it would be. I think it adds value to our house, so it makes it more appealing. And it adds value to the neighborhood, because again, it matches some of the houses that are there. I would like to point out that when you look at our house, the garage is currently on the right side. The neighbor to the right is sitting right here, Brandon Gamfer. So I've coordinated with him what it's gonna look like. He's on board with it. He can speak if you wanna hear from him. His house sits at an angle to my house. So my house is here, his house sits like this. So when you look at it from the street, that's where you get the 70-foot kind of offset, right? Because the front of the house is so far. So when I look at the other houses on the street, this definitely maintains the aesthetic value that we're trying to keep within the street.
Thank
And
you.
I think he stated the case, otherwise right on par, so.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone speaking for this applicant? Anyone speaking in opposition? I see none. Can we have a motion to close the public portion?
I'll make a motion to close the public portion.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, and any discussion? See none. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. DeMoss?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shup?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow? Mr. Roberto?
Yes. Okay. We'll do the same thing. Ms. Saito, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Mr. Shup?
I guess just the new addition, how that came about.
How did it come about?
Yeah,
The tandem or the main?
the tandem.
Well, we have the room to do it, number one. And when you look at the project, there's gonna be costs to do the single bay. And as I talk to contractors I've interviewed, to extend it another 17 feet, which you wouldn't even really be able to see from the street because it would be buried behind. If it doesn't double the cost of the project, if we were ever gonna do it, this would be the time to do it. So depending on the price and the budgetary, that's where it could be a single. From a variance standpoint, it's the same all the way down the property line, right? Because it's gonna be parallel to the property line. So how far back I go does not change what we're asking for. But it could change the way it looks from the side or from the front, it would not. But depending on the partner that I pick to do the job and what their cost is and how much more it is to add, I could end up with a tandem and have a 4-car, which would be nice. And if I was ever gonna do it, we'd wanna do it at the time we're doing all the construction to begin with.
And I have a question. It appears that the garage you have now, I can't really tell, but am I correct in assuming it's brick on the side?
It's brick on the side.
And this new garage and/or possibly the addition would be brick as well?
It will be brick, it'll have at a minimum a brick front. So when we do the project, we're gonna take the brick wall off and salvage what we can. So depending on how much we salvage and what kind of brick we can find, we'll either do a half brick, we'll do a brick front regardless, because I have leftover brick from the original construction. So we have enough to do a brick front to the house. On the side, it's gonna depend on how much we can salvage or what other brick we can find. The rest of the house is a drive-it stucco type material. So there's a brick first floor, and then there's stucco, the 2 different color stucco. So we can match exactly the existing structure with stucco if we want. Our preference is to do brick.
Okay. I think that's all I had.
Ms. Owens?
You said it won't alter the front, view of the property, but it'll alter the back view of the property?
Well, it'll be, are you talking about the tandem versus a single bay?
Yes.
It just, when you come down the street, it'll be deeper as a tandem than it would a single.
It's gonna look
That's
like,
what you
it's gonna look like what you have now, just
Right.
one step over.
Exactly right. Because right now, the garage doesn't run the whole way of the house, but the garage addition would run the whole way of the house, so
Got
that's
it.
exactly right.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Demosh?
I don't have any questions.
And I don't have any questions either. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, I would prefer that the house, the addition looked like it was built and it's originally built versus a bolt-on, just for value of your neighbors, but,
Yeah, we won't,
yeah.
if we can't do that, we won't do the project, because it has to look like it was originally built. That's the goal.
And, yeah, we appreciate, we've got two realtors on the board, and so we appreciate when you add another garage, because it's, it gives a little more for the community and as far as increasing the property values around you. I don't have any questions. Does anybody want, you can go and see, anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion second made. Any discussion? See none. Roll call vote.
Mr. Demoss,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shup,
Yes.
Mr. Sydow, Mr. Roberto.
Yes. All right, so we have no unfinished business. We have approval of the minutes for the February 28th. Does everyone have an opportunity to read that? And they can, I know we just got it late last night, but everybody good with approving it?
Yes.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion to approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, motion been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Demoss,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shup,
Yes.
Mr. Sydow,
Mr. Sato? You want to approve the meeting?
Yes.
and Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Administrative matter, our next meeting is May 22nd, 2024. Do we have a case?
We have 3 cases.
Okay.
Yes.
And then any administrative matters?
The only administrative matter is that this is my last meeting, and Justin Becker will be the BZA administrator from here on out.
All right. You got some big shoes to fill.
Literally, like, pretty huge.
All right, anyone would like to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Demoss,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shup,
Yes.
Mr. Sydow,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Meeting adjourned.